Welcome back to the show. Today's topic: during COVID, dating apps are a must, or I was gonna call it are your go to tool. It's no headline story or no breaking news that I'm breaking, but it's now going on a year in March for most of us. It will be a year since the COVID-19 has changed our lives forever, has just moved society into a kind of new. You hear it all the time when and people get tired of it. The new normal, is what we have to get used to. So going to football games, large gatherings, and of course the dating scene has all changed. Restaurants are some haven't opened, some are open but only limited. So there is a new kind of world that has been forced upon us, and yet we still have the old urges, the old habits, the old life that we were used to having, or the old normal, that all of a sudden we're being told that we're not going back to that we now have to go, with this new kind of normal. And when you're in this new normal, now there's restrictions. Like, you're I mean, you've heard the funny ass stories as far as, like, what, and if you go state by state, what rules are in there, it's ridiculous. um but in some cases you could go out on a date or just go out period and get ticketed, get fined. It's kind of ridiculous. But since, to try to stay on topic, I think I already had a podcast where I talked about just dating in COVID period. It's kind of something that's changed. You can't just approach people, and at least not as freely as you could, because obviously with the distancing and being cautious in not, infecting other people, and just being a decent, part of humanity, and try to work together to solve this problem that we have. It's not the best option to go up to people anymore, especially at gyms. That dynamic has changed now, where depending on where you go, I've heard, guys and girls saying that it is becoming easier, and maybe there's a correlation. I haven't seen that yet, but maybe it's just in the little bubble that I'm in, and maybe it is easier, or more people are hooking up at gyms. I definitely have seen the increase in attendance, and I think just because in certain states gyms are opening and so much is closed, that might as well get out of the house and go work out for a little bit, since at least gyms are open. Again, it varies from state to state, and even in some instances, city to city, of what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. So it's just changed, right? So we're coming up on a year, and again, I've said it before in the podcast about COVID. Use your judgment. Your best judgment. Don't just, because you're horny or because you're turned on or whatever, to make irrational decisions, or rush into something and put yourself at a bigger risk, I guess. Whether you believe it or not, again, this is not the discussion whether you believe the virus is aggressive or not. Fine, whatever, if you do or you don't. This is what you should do, as far as not not this podcast, but I've already said in another podcast, that you be safe, be smart about it, but you can't stop what humans are going to do. And specifically when we as Americans consider ourselves like the freest people on earth, you gotta be crazy if you're gonna go that route with an American or someone that is really really patriotic. Whether you consider that bad or good, again, this is not the discussion or the point that I'm trying to get across. But the point that I'm trying to get across right now is that it's changed. We're living in a new world. I want to go eat somewhere now. I have to call and have reservations for freaking Denny's or to go to Applebee's. Not because they're loaded, just because that's the new way to do it, right? So now I have to, before, if I wanted to go to Chili's or Applebee's just to grab some, quick something to eat, I could just pop up to one. Now I gotta call ahead like it's some fancy restaurant or something. Movie theaters closed down. Bars only, same thing. I have to call ahead and be able to, reserve my spot. And God forbid I want to fucking play, pool or something, because then you're just acting like a janitor and sanitizing behind yourself. So it's not really the most it's not the best dating scene right now, because no matter what, it's this weird kind of vibe that I don't know about everyone else, but I see the mask, and all I associate it with is the hospital, right? Because that's the only time that you see these kind of medical masks, or in movies where it's a plague, a pandemic, something is bad when people are wearing these masks. So trying to be suave, trying to be, a single bachelor trying to get your swerve on in COVID. Oh, it's so just different, and it's hard to be able to show that side of you. Again, it depends where you are. Again, where I'm at here in Vegas, in Las Vegas, Nevada, a lot of stuff is open, only, but only open 25%, or at 25% occupancy. So it's not as bad as in other states. I mean, there is still some cities that they have no COVID restrictions. They've remained open. So obviously in those you could do, pretty much everything still. Like I said, where I'm at, it's a lot easier to do, stuff and still be smooth, still kind of present the image that you want to. I mean, and this is not about being fake or anything, but just what you're used to, how you're used to dating, or how you want to present yourself, or stuff that, is your go-to kind of, filter, even though, I, anyways, I don't want to digress too much. So, but in some instances, it's difficult, when you putting on, taking off the mask, putting on the mask, taking off the mask every time you want to take a drink, or anytime you want to, you want to sit down for a dinner and you eat, but then if you just want to sit there and talk, you have to put the mask back on because you want to be courteous to other people. So there's these restaurants now that are having these crazy rules as to um, how to be in their establishment, and they're trying to stay open, so you try to oblige, but the point is that it's hard to try to show your best foot or put your best foot forward through no fault of your own. Obviously, you can't control COVID, you can't control what businesses are trying to do to stay open, stay in business, and give the public the assurance of cleanliness and whatnot. So I definitely get that. But so in this environment, the reason I named this, this episode of the topic was, during COVID, dating apps are a must. Is because just because of that reason, with limited places to go, and even if you do think outside the box, what some people think outside the box, more people are thinking in that same outside the box, so those things are packed. So when you can't meet a woman in normal sense, going up to approaching her, uh, because of the fear of COVID and like, hey, don't you know we're in a pandemic? You can't approach kind of of a reaction. Um, Men and women, and by the thousands, are heading into COVID. And again, in one of the podcasts that I did a few weeks ago, I mentioned how just in dating period, dating apps and have been the way that it was moving before this towards more users in that, but people that were not, that looked at dating apps in a negative light, COVID has changed that for them. The changed that opinion of online dating that are now on there. I have ran across so many profiles from anyone, either whether it be Tinder, POF, Hinge, whatever, where you see it on the bio like, oh, I never thought I would stoop to this, or I can't believe I'm doing this. I always swore that I wouldn't do online dating. And whether it's true or not, whether fabrication is happening, I don't know. But I know that a lot of women, obviously with the furloughs and stuff like that, or working from home, women, obviously, a big part of dating was inter office dating. All of a sudden, boom, that's gone. When you take that away from, the work husbands, or the little flirtiness at work, all of a sudden women are faced with that reality. It was like, where do I get my validation? So of course we've all heard the Facebook, Instagram validation for likes. Great, but that doesn't hit the carnal. So where you need that physical satisfaction, and again, whether you believe in the social correctiveness of that or not, or yes or no, this is not the topic. We're just talking about normal fucking non self evaluating human beings and shit. So the internet only gives them that certain kind of likes, the validation, if you want to call it that. So, but at some point, it becomes the carnal calling becomes too great. So before, you could kind of get away with it at work with the teasing, the light flirting. There was always that little bit of release. But since now, again, people have been furloughed, people are under a lot of stress, people are working from home. That dynamic has now changed, and for some have been eliminated. That then they turn their attention towards dating apps. And I've seen this a lot recently too in married women, because they're used to get their little excitement on the side at work innocently, and now they're looking for that same kind of dangerous flirtatious, and for many of them, oh, it's just because I want to feel like wanted. My husband doesn't let me feel wanted. I don't plan on cheating, and it's just more of a ego lift. And I get that part. I'm not trying to, I mean, it's wrong because you're married and you should be seeking that attention and validation from your husband. If a woman is listening to all of a sudden, since this dynamic where they used to get it innocently, never crossing that boundary, now they're leading into the dating app world. And of course the dating app world is just savage right now. So and it wasn't just, I mean, it's savage right now, but it was already that way, not to the extent that it is now, obviously, but it was already that way beforehand. And now with the huge influx of women and men, of course, we're also, but women are just going to these apps a lot more than us. um it's becoming that, and I said it in my other podcast, it's becoming that much more easier for men to have an option. Not that you're gonna get lucky, but you're gonna have way more options now. And women are actually dating down, and I've seen it now on many platforms, being talked about women, are women dating down, or are women with more unattractive men. And even in some of the Facebook groups that I've that I'm part of, and I'm part of a variety, you see some of the guys, because again, guys, and just the era that we're in right now, they like to brag about, and then guys have always bragged about their conquest. And lately, in the last, like, I would say 6 months, you could see the caliber of women of some of these men that are getting, and they're way, you could even hear it in their post, when you read it, like, oh, she was so fire, and look, this is what you do, and blah blah blah, like trying to, put some kind of badge on themselves, not really understanding that, hey, she was just probably super freaking, she was about to pop, and you were just a lucky, mf'er that was that swipe responded correctly, had your own place, whatever. But it's what most people, say, the pussy was, it just fell on your lap, basically. But this is the time when to be on dating apps, because women are going to it in just huge amount of numbers, and the downloads, uh up to date, up to 20 January 2021. I mean, look at the data, look at just the amount of the rate of dating apps from all of them. Now, I don't care what you're into. Look at the downloads on them and how successful they've been since March. And I mean, they were already successful, but how many more, new subscribers, are now on these apps? And it's just, if it was a stock, you would want to buy, because it's just still going up, going up, going up, because that's just the norm. The dating apps fit COVID or something like this, shutdowns that we're having so perfectly. It was already perfect for introverted dating, people that didn't like to get out much, that kind of kept to themselves, or busy professionals, whatever, whatnot. So it was already set up that way. And when you now force the general public to also live in this hermit isolation mode, of course, it runs next to it, side by side, so perfectly. The connections, the way you could communicate, how fast, the randomness of it. I mean, not the randomness of this, but well, I guess the randomness, and just how many, random, and on their end would be guys that we meet. And the same thing with us. How many more just swipes, and the success rate that we're going to get is going to double. And if you're an attractive guy, triple or quadruple. That's just what the environment is right now. Like I said, dating apps just fit COVID. Again, not trying to make a light of anything about COVID. This virus it should be taken seriously. And this is by no means saying they be disrespectful or not be safe. Always be safe in saying this, but when in whatever you do, but it's something that again we have to get used to. And just the numbers, like I said, of downloads of these dating apps are just shooting through the roof. And again, I already mentioned it, and other people are now bringing it up. And I'm not saying I was the first or anything like that, or they're gaining it for me because I don't got the views or anything like that for that. But again, you're starting to hear it now because it's becoming obvious. I mean, you gotta be dumb if you're not dating. Then if you're just like a married dude and you're not out physically dating, then you don't know it. But if you're physically out there in the dating world, it sounds disrespectful. But again, I'm is by no means disrespecting, because it just is what it is. I just mentioned it a little bit earlier about women dating down, that they're not, or lowering their standards. And again, call it whatever you want to call it, but that is happening. And not just the meeting up. I in my previous podcast about COVID dating, how women are now more inclined to go to someone's house, to go to your apartment, to go to your house, to break that golden rule as to, oh, I never go to a man's house. Well, guess what? It's not the same dating world anymore. Why should I? You want me to wine and dine you? Well, come over. I'll wine and dine you from my place, from my, we're grown, and that now it's becoming not too scary now. It's almost becoming a brand new thing. Like, hey, it's okay for to go to this, woman's house on the first day. Oh, it's okay for her to come to my house or my apartment on the first date because COVID dating and whatnot. And I get it, to some people, oh, it's just a bunch of excuse to get easy access to pussy and da 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 da. And I get that argument, and you're gonna have guys that are gonna use obviously anything. I mean, there's people are using this pandemic to cheat people out of their stimulus money. People always use or try to use people during 9/11, World War II, Vietnam, a tragedy. No matter what, people are always opportunist, and that's just the way. I mean, it's pretty much, I guess you can't help. Uh, you can't help that. Just one of one of the shitty sides of being a human is that it's one of these attributes that just fucking come along, and you're like, we do a lot of great things, but there's some things that just always makes you think, and that's one of them, right? Before I go into like the second part of this, I want to make sure that some people might be like, "Wow, dating and COVID is such a, like, you shouldn't be doing it," and for a little part, I agree. So here in Vegas, they have quick testing. So I know people, and especially people that travel for a living, this is the only way they have to do it. So here is quick. Um, there's quick testing sites. So what I'm seeing is a lot of singles or a lot of people dating before they will go on. They'll set up a date. Hey, we want to go, but I want to make sure you're COVID tested. Can you? They'll ask the question. Before we meet at X place, can you make sure you get a COVID test, that day, to make sure that we're both okay? And they'll go ahead and do that, and they're free, right? A lot of these, and I get it, don't, to abuse it, to for your own, dating aspect of it. The more, I'm not here to debate the morale. I'm here to tell you what the fuck's going on, or what I see going on. And I see a lot more dating happening, but after they go and get these free tests, and you get them at CVS, Rite Aid. There's just so many places now here in Las Vegas, Clark County, that you could go get a quick, test result, whether you have the COVID virus, right then and there before you go on to your date. So I know if it's happening here in Vegas, I'm pretty sure it's happening other places. And not only just to go out to public, it's, even just to like meet up, like even if it is coming to my place, hey, can you go get a COVID test before you come over, and I'll have one too, to make sure that you know I'm safe inviting you from my house. So it's becoming more of a common thing. So uh again, not that it's something that, what I do recommend you being able to, if you're gonna come in contact and you're gonna date, it's probably not the worst idea to do that kind of testing the day of the date, to make sure that there is no, whether you're going out in public or whether you're bringing them into your house. I think it's a good thing. A lot of people might disagree with that because of the need for testing, but we're not at a position like we were in, like, June, July. Testing has become so available now that I think, for the most part, maybe I'm incorrect in the information that I know, but I think for the most part, most cities and states have testing sites where they're free for anyone. And I know people that get tested sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, depending on what kind of job that they do. And if they travel, forget it. I mean, they're being, tested. And I know for me, sometimes people, depending on what I do, I don't get tested, but I get that temperature thing that they do in your forehead or on your wrist. I mean, at least three or four times a day. But it's a trend that I'm seeing that singles now are doing, since testing is so available, that they're going to get tested before they go out and on their actual date. So without going more and more on, this is where again, the podcast isn't intended to give you like step one, two, three, and four, and it's gonna lead to you getting more dates. The point of it is, hey, yo, you might have a negative outlook on dating apps, but given the environment, and if you don't want to date, given this, dating environment and the COVID, no one's telling you to date. No one's telling you to do any of this stuff. But I'm saying, if you are going to date and want to meet someone, because even in a pandemic, you could find the love of your life. I guess you have to. You want to have the best chances to meet quality women. It's no longer a, hey, what this, dating apps, or a hookup app, or no, this is just the way it is now. If you want to meet someone, and not just some crazy psycho with problems, and nope, there's a ton of women on there now with no kids, that are ready to settle down and have taken their approach in the that they would have in the real world, and now are transferring that into the dating apps. So there is the quality has gone up on that app. So why not have those dating apps as part of your arsenal? Because that's just where it's not going away anytime soon. What we're going through right now is, I know everybody's wanting it to, and I'm hopeful, but given the news, we're going on a path of like 2025, when maybe, like, we'll be getting back to something back, then in 2025. So maybe, I'm hopeful that I'm wrong and it'll be faster than that. But given all the signs, I think masks are here to stay. The vaccines are here, going to be something that we're just going to have to get used to and adapt, and hopefully get more information to keep more and more people safe from this, from this virus. So anyway, so one of the things you want to do, especially like I said for us men, is keep our apps updated. Keep them updated, keep them interesting. You hear it. Again, if you want to know that kind of stuff, and how to spruce up your Tinder profile, and how to get the most, likes, or how to get the most matches, there is a ton of YouTube videos out there. I haven't watched a second of them, so whether they're good or bad, I don't know. But what I do know is that you want to have a good picture up there. You want to have it up to date. You don't want to have a outdated profile where it says you were that, oh, I've been single for a year and a half or 2 years, but you really have been single now for 2 or 3 or 4 years. I mean, 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 years, it's longer than what is posted. And let's say, oh, so you've been single for, a year and a half. And then you say, oh, no, that's actually, I've been single now for 3 years. Well, now you have a year and a half where she's going to probably wonder, like, well, okay, well, what have you been doing in a year and a half? So, and it's these kind of things that, we don't, those little details that we don't pay attention to, but women will pay attention to that detail, and then automatically say, oh, that's a red flag. So you want to keep it updated, keep it interesting. I'm not saying be like super attentive in it, but at least keep it with the timeline, how long you've been single, and if there's any dates in your profile to begin with. But you want to make sure that it's again, it's just updated and interesting. And it's sounding like I'm giving you guys advice as to what to do, and it is kind of, but again, I'm not gonna tell you what pose or what background, whether you should be laughing or like you don't know what camera's on you, and you'll just act natural, bro, and use this lighting and be in a metro area where a lot people, I don't, again, there's other channels that will tell you that, and then you could listen to that information and then decide for yourself if you deem it to be useful and you want to adapt it uh, to your profiles. Okay, this is not it. But again, it's gonna come off that way. The second thing that I want to bring up is, and it only because I asked the question to the girls that I'm dating or that that I match with, and this is something that they tell me is the approach of men. So they might match, but all of a sudden men are just like, hey, you want to fuck, or hey, you down to kick it, hey, you want to chill. Like it's going from hey, we matched to hey, come over and chill, let's Netflix and chill, or let's Disney Plus and chill, whatever your streaming service and chill is. So women have been telling me, like, yeah, every guy I meet, it's always like we matched, but then it's like, hey, send me a picture of you, oh, you fine, or it's always this really aggressive, sloppy approach to them. So what I use, which I have not, it's not 100% success with it, but I would say it's in the very high 70s, or low 80s as far as the response back is a simple freaking sentence that it makes you sound like a gentleman. It's not too crazy. It leads to further conversation, and it invites them to talk, and like, hey, he is not just some motherfucking weirdo that is just trying to get in my pants, even though you are trying to get into her pants, and she knows that, that no one's you know uh lying to no one, but you don't want to uh, just go right from hey, you match to hey, come over and chill. There has to be a warm up to it. So what I've used, again, you don't have to. I'm not saying it's gonna work for you the same way that it worked for me, but it seems to work for me. It was the looks like we match, depending on what app you're using. And if it happens to say, hey, you matched or you click or it's a connection, whatever, you want to put that, oh, looks like we connected or whatever. But in my case, it looks like we match. Uh, looks like you match. How are you today? Simple. No fucking crazy lines about, oh, you're beautiful, or like, quote unquote simping for them. Like, oh my God, your eyes are gorgeous. And, or you have a body of a goddess. Like, nah, it's just like, oh, cool. Like, oh shit, we matched. How are you today? And again, high 70s, low 80s, they'll respond with at least saying, hey, oh, look, we did. Cool. How are you? And then then it's up to you to keep that, conversation spicy enough or going enough, not spicy enough, but just moving it forward enough where then you could actually lead her into whatever it is that you want to lead to, whether it's a date or hopefully it's to invite her on a date, and whatever it is your motive. So, and that's just an easy way to flow. Again, it's not set, but you want to use something similar where you're not coming off too douchey, too fucking needy, too thirsty, too rude, too like you get too much pussy, and that she's just another freaking like notch in your bed. Like that's what you don't want to come across. So a simple response to the matching, because obviously she already matched with you, you already matched with her, you guys know that visually you guys like something about the picture. So come at her in a more respectful way. She's gonna every time I've used it, oh my God, you're so the first thing is you came at me different, you seem like a gentleman, even though I mean, for the most part, I could say I wasn't. It was just a response that I just happened. It happened to work for me because it came out natural, and I just happened to keep on using it. And I got at least, like I said, the response back to talk to me. And it was like, well, the way you responded to me, you didn't seem like a douchebag. It was something that I wasn't used to. So I was like, oh, yo, you look fine, or hey, you want to chill as far as we match. So it was like you wanted to actually get to know me. So it's one of the little I guess tricks, if you want to call it. It's not really a trick to me. It's just something that I've done, and I did naturally. That was seriously my natural response to when I would match with someone's like, oh shit, we matched, cool. Hey, how was hi, we matched. How are you today? And again, 80% success rate that they would respond to me, and then it was up to me to continue. And the reason you want to make it simple, and I won't go past that as far as like what to do for your dating app to increase your chances, because we're all different depending your city, state, whatever. It varies. I've seen weird ass fucking profiles that actually get success, from men. I'm like, what the fuck? But whatever it is, maybe he's just a charmer or whatnot. And one of the points that I want to get, or one of the final points I want to get, is that women know, guys, like, women know, they're ready, they're ready to just have sex just as much as we are. They understand why they're going on the app. They understand all that. The only thing they want is then the effort, right? Make a little bit of effort. Like, they know that everything's easier now. They know that now they're in competition with even more women. They know everything. They know when they agree to come to your house. They know that that we're thinking certain things. They know that everything that we think in our mind that we're gonna do to them, they know, like, and are probably expecting the same thing, but they just want that extra little effort. Not show up in your house, be all fucking dirty. Maybe buying some, champagne, having some nice lighting, making an effort, making it seem like, hey, you're important enough for me to freaking date, not just invite over for a quick bang. Am I saying that if you do that, it wouldn't work? No, I'm not saying that, because I know for a fact that it will work, just because the numbers are there. And if you keep on saying, hey, I'm just down to chill and come on, and you come over and chill, and we could chill fucking, whatever, and drink, I guarantee you, if you just have, if you keep on doing that enough times, you will find, girls that will be like, okay, good enough for me. I'm not looking for nothing serious, and you're cute enough, and they'll come over. But if you're looking for quality women in dating apps, then guess what? You're going to have to put in a little effort, because they know, again, women aren't dumb. We want to say they're dumb. We want to play like we're playing some kind of game, which no side is fucking playing a game here. Like, both sides know what the other one is doing. What women are complaining about right now with the whole COVID dating and online dating with COVID is that there is no effort. It's right to the fuck. It's right to the hookup. There is no kind of dating. So even if that's the case, put a little effort, just a tad bit. Like I said, buy some wine, invest in your place. If you have an apartment, update it, make it seem, order some Grubhub, get some good food in there. If you suck at cooking, spend a little bit of freaking money to just set it up like a date. And you could, I'm not saying, again, not simping now, because you still want to hold the same values in dating. But even those things, as far as like holding it to a certain budget and all that stuff, that's great. But now it's changed, right? Before it was like, well, I'm paying for gas and I'm paying for this and I'm paying. Now you could literally, you could say, okay, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat, and map it out, not going out of your range or whatnot. And if you're a cook, even better. You even save yourself even more money in that way. So make a little bit of effort. That way because again, they know. I've talked to way too many girls or women to when they tell me that, and they like, I knew, but he was too forceful. As soon as I walked in, he was trying to kiss up on me, so I was like, no, and I just turned around and left. And that's what women are telling me, that they're running into these guys, and I'm just like, oh, okay, hearing it, and I think it's something that men need to hear. Hey, it's great, and it's, but put a little bit of effort. Just put a little bit of effort, and I guarantee you, those little details are what's gonna seal the deal. So just put a little bit of effort. Don't use other people's standards for your own, right? So Don't, what I mean by that is, so if you hear about, oh, he's having so much success, with dating apps and I don't happen to see it. Don't worry about that. You could be, especially, obviously if it's like someone in your area, maybe a coworker, maybe then you look at it, but maybe you're a little bit chubbier, maybe you're a little bit uglier, if you're, consider yourself uglier, or if you even consider yourself, attractive or unattractive. Again, that's completely subjective and individualized. But just because your friend might have more success, or someone on Facebook that you're in a Facebook group, or someone online on a YouTube channel, and oh my God, he's so good with women, whatnot. Like, don't use that as your standard. First, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Get to know yourself, get to know what you like, what you don't like, and start making those standards and benchmarks of what you like and what would be sufficient for you. And then, move forward in the pursuit of that. But if you say, well, he's sleeping with 10 women and I have to sleep with at least 10 women to match him, and you don't, obviously you're setting yourself up for failure, or, that self-fulfilling prophecy, as it's been known so much. So if so, just take it out. Why even have that as an option? Just focus on you. Focus on what is a progression for you. I haven't had a date, let me get a date. Let me just talk to someone online on Tinder. Not even ask them out for a date. Just let me hold the conversation to where she's asking me, do you want to see me outside of this app? Then all of a sudden you made it easier. But let me just try to talk to a few, and then hit those benchmarks as to what it is for you. Don't say, oh, I have to sleep with, like, 4 girls a week or X amount. No, what, why, what's the purpose? What's the goal? What's your goal in doing that? Like, how is it benefiting you? And I don't care. Oh, I just want to bust nuts. Okay, fine, whatever. But what is, and if that's the standard that they want to have because they want to bust nuts, hey, who am I to judge, right? But at least that way you're focused on what's individualized for you. And one of the topics that I'm going to talk about, or probably on my next podcast, is dating with a purpose. And I'm going to go more in detail in that one, as far as what is dating with a purpose. And I'll go in a little bit right here. I mean, you want to have, even in what I was just saying about knowing what is it that you like and having what the standard is for you, is dating with purpose. And a lot of times when you hear dating with purpose, it's people that are already dating, but it doesn't even have to be that. It could be like, if you have like, for the example that I was using now, if you have if you haven't been on a date, your dating with a purpose is, I want to just talk to a girl. I want a girl, talk to a girl through Tinder, through Plenty of Fish, through whatever, and I just want to have a back and forth conversation with her. No asking her out and stuff like that. And if it ends, it ends. But maybe you can have that relationship, not a relationship, but you just get to know her and you go back and forth solid for, 2, 3, maybe a week or so. You guys go back and forth, and then it fizzles out because she finds someone, or you don't ask her out. But what then your dating purpose is, now I'm gonna talk to someone like that, get engaged with that, but then I'm gonna ask them out, or make them want me enough to hint as whether I'm gonna ask them out. And then you reach that benchmark, and then the next part is, okay, maybe that it never reaches that, or you asked them out and then they declined it. Then your next dating with a purpose is, well, I'm going to now expand it to meet more girls until I have a girl that physically meets me, for a date. That is dating with a purpose. Your purpose is to get better at dating. for the most part, when you hear it, is dating with purpose. Whether you want to get married, whether you want a girlfriend, whether you want a wife, whether you want kids, whether you want a partner, whether you want a stay-at-home wife, whether, for the most part, that's what you associate dating with a purpose. But dating with a purpose is from any part of the dating game, or not the dating game, like I'm saying, like it's some kind of like pimp shit. But as soon as you're starting to put out, or going out into the dating world, you want to date with a purpose, if that is the purpose. And even people that hook up, that's their purpose, is to hook up. And even though they don't realize it, but you want to have a focused, dating purpose, where, hey, this is what I'm trying to get at with with dating. And the last thing, and I'll leave you guys with this, is I keep on hitting the freaking microphone with my headphones. I don't know. I can. That the dumbest thing. I by the way, I have the mic set up. But the final thing that I'm going to say about this, and is just, men have to just be patient, especially with dating apps. Unless you're like super attractive and you could put whatever, if you're just one of those guys that are like dumb, attractive, and good looking, and you're gonna get response just because of that. But for the rest of us, we're gonna have to leave the app up, and let time and the laws of averages and randomness to take the lead, and just be patient. Work on yourself, work out, get your shit together, whatever it is, the same old spiel that you hear in self betterment channels, which is great advice. But be patient. Be patient. Update. Put photos as you're losing weight, as you're gaining muscle. As you're going into this great new restaurant, post pictures of that dope ass fucking outfit you look good in. Whatever. Keep it updated, but be patient. Be patient. Just because you meet one girl or you're not meeting any, whatever it is on either spectrum, be fucking patient. Don't run. Don't be too eager. Don't be, again, now more than ever, especially in the dating app world, there is way more women on these things than men now. So there's no need to feel like you're running out of time, or that you have to make your decision. If there's a time where men could be choosy as to what they do, how it's done, location, anything, now it's completely on our side. So men just have to be patient and allow the numbers to play out. Because no matter what, there's someone for you. And if that's the case, if you're looking for someone and you want someone, trust me, you'll find someone. So I hope I made you guys think. I hope you guys like the podcast. Thank you for watching. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time.